morning. Welcome to 모닝스페셜. 여러분 안녕하세요. 8월 16일 금요일 최수진의 모닝스페셜입니다. Sharing a common background is always a great way to start a good friendship, but sharing a similar past can be the grounds for a deeper understanding. And that's a trait that our country shares with the far nation of India. 한국의 광복절과 인도의 독립기념일은 8월 15일로 날짜가 같습니다. 인도 현지에서 3.1운동 100주년 기념전을 개최 중인 뉴델리 국립현대미술관의 관장 아드와이타 가나냐이크 씨의 말인데요. 그는 또한 한국과 인도의 관계는 2000년 전부터 불교로 연결된 사이로 단순히 닮았다는 사실 이상의 관계로서 그 문화의 연관성을 강조했다고 합니다. 1919년 3월 1일 날씨 맑음이라는 이름의 이번 인도 뉴델리 전시는요. 다음 달 9월 29일까지 열린다고 하네요. 수천 킬로미터 떨어진 두 나라지만 이미 과거부터 형제, 친구 같은 사이라는 겁니다. And by learning different and similar histories, we might be taking a step or two further into the real meaning of global understanding. Well, with that in mind, let me give you a quiz question here. Here's the quiz. Another word for relations is 1번 ties, 2번 bows. 오늘도 청취자 여러분의 많은 참여 기다리고 있습니다. 여러분의 퀴즈 정답 보내주신 분들 중에 추첨을 통해서 총 5분께 저자극 순환 비누 보내드리겠습니다. 또 소식과 소감 그리고 방송 중 궁금한 질문 있으시면 보내주세요. 짧은 문자는 50원, 긴 문자는 100원에 샵 1045로 보내주시고요. 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스 이용도 가능합니다. Okay, then let's kick off today's show with today's global headlines. 세계 각국 언론사들의 어떤 헤드라인이 올라왔는지 살펴보는 시간입니다. Touch Global Headlines.
China has warned the U.S. and Britain against using the Sino joint declaration to intervene in Hong Kong's protests.
중국이 홍콩 시위를 두고 미국과 영국 등을 겨냥해 홍콩 반환 협정 구실로 개입 말라며 재차 경고하고 나섰습니다.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Thursday sent a ritualistic offering to Tokyo's Yasukuni Shrine, a symbol of the country's imperialistic past.
아베 신조 일본 총리가 종전일인 어제 야스쿠니 신사에 또다시 공물을 보냈습니다.
An Italian court has ruled that a ship carrying rescued migrants should be allowed to dock in Italy in defiance of a government ban.
이탈리아 사법부가 정부의 비정부기구 난민 구조선의 영해 진입 금지 명령을 뒤집고 입항을 허용했습니다.
Rebels in Syria have shot down a government warplane in the opposition stronghold of Idlib province in northern Syria.
시리아 북부 이들립주 일대에서 반군이 정부군 전투기 한 대를 격추했습니다.
A Russian passenger plane on Thursday performed an emergency landing shortly after takeoff after suffering a bird strike on its engines.
러시아 모스크바 인근에서 국내선 여객기가 이륙 직후 버드 스트라이크로 인해 비상 착륙했습니다.
The government has started reviewing measures to levy a tax on YouTube.
정부가 이른바 유튜브세 논의에 본격적으로 착수했습니다. And for the headlines and more, I'm joined by Walter 선생님. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, and I'll say to all of our listeners and any viewers out there, a fantastic Friday. Good morning.
I love your red top.
Well, it's been a bit of a theme over the past few weeks on Fridays to, sometimes I indulge in the sort of Western concept of casual Friday, and over the last few Fridays, I've taken to wearing some of my sort of sports uniforms.
Casual Friday. 혹시 여러분 출퇴근하시는 분들 중에 우리 회사, 제가 다니는 직장에 Casual Friday 있습니다 하시는 분들 계시면 알려주세요. 외국에서는 흔히 회사에서 그 가지고 있는 어떤 폴리시인데요. 그러니까 월요일부터 목요일까지는 조금 정장 차림을 하고
Sure.
굉장히 포멀하게 입고 금요일만큼은 좀 캐주얼하게 옷을 입도록 허용하는 Casual Friday입니다.
Yeah, a lot of places that require you to dress up during the week will allow you to dress down on the Friday.
Right. 물론 뭐 우리 방송에서 그런 게 있는 건 아니고요. 그냥 선생님이 스스로 그렇게 하고 싶어서 하신 거지만
Now that we're on Bonian Radio and YouTube as well, we do have to maybe pay a little more attention to
Yeah.
how we look in the mornings.
But I really love it. It's lovely and bright.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if you'd like to listen to the headlines again, you can do so by visiting our website. 조금 전에 들으신 헤드라인은요, 모닝스페셜 홈페이지 헤드라인 다시 듣기에서 무료로 들으실 수 있습니다. 많은 이용 바랍니다. Let's go over the headlines.
Headline number 1, China has warned the U.S. and Britain against using the Sino-British joint declaration to intervene in Hong Kong's protests.
중국이 홍콩 시위를 두고 미국과 영국 등을 겨냥해 홍콩 반환 협정 구실로 개입 말라면서 재차 경고하고 나섰습니다.
I think in my initial reading of the headline, I had misread the name of that joint declaration. Indeed, it is the Sino-British Joint Declaration. And this is coming as China has issued some of its most potent and strongest language yet to the pro-democracy demonstrators there in Hong Kong, saying that it has, quote, enough solutions and enough power to swiftly quell the unrest there if it deems the situation uncontrollable. That was the language sent directly to the protesters, as well as these comments about the Sino-British Joint Declaration, which we can get into in a moment.
Right. And of course, here on Morning Special, we've been talking about the protests in Hong Kong. They are against a particular bill that the Hong Kong government has been pushing for that would allow criminals to be sent over to Beijing for further questioning. Now, the people of Hong Kong do not want that to happen. And so they have been protesting for, I don't know, months now already.
Yes, well over 2 months. I believe it's in its 10th, soon to enter its 11th week. And
Right.
You're exactly right. That extradition bill was very controversial. It remains somewhat controversial. However, it's worth pointing out that the bill has been withdrawn, but not officially scrapped.
That's
and I think
right.
that's one of the points of contention right now.
Right, and it's not just an issue between Hong Kong and China because the international stage is also stepping up and saying what they think should be done in terms of sort of quietening down the atmosphere, calming down the atmosphere. I think the word calm was used by one of the officials on the British side. China actually is saying to Britain, back off. You have nothing to do with this. And that is where today's Sino-British Joint Declaration comes in.
Indeed, it does. We've had several people mentioning that word calm, as you did say. We've also had UK politicians proposing that UK citizenship rights be extended to the Hong Kong Chinese. That proposal to extend those UK rights to Hong Kong Chinese has then prompted China to retort that really the UK no longer should be involved in Hong Kong's business, as it no longer is the colony that it once was. A foreign minister actually said that, foreign minister from, or spokesperson at least, from China said that the UK should stop its colonial mindset and it should also stop intervening.
Right. And just for the record, of course, the Sino-British Joint Declaration was signed in 1984, and it states that Hong Kong would enjoy a high degree of autonomy, and this would be vested with executive, legislative, and independent judicial power. 앞서서 제레미 헌트 영국 외무장관은요, 한 인터뷰에서 홍콩 시위와 관련해 이런 얘기를 했습니다. 중국이 홍콩 반환 협정을 지키지 않으면은 굉장히 심각한 결과를 불러올 수 있다. 이런 경고를 내놨거든요. 중국이 이에 대한 반응으로 어제 얘기를 한 겁니다. 그때 그 협정은 이미 다 지난 것일 뿐만 아니라 지금은 영국이 개입할 일이 전혀 아니다. 이런 입장이고요. 미국도 비슷하게 영국과 비슷한 입장의 얘기를 최근에 했습니다. 그래서 중국이 영국과 미국을 겨냥해서 물러서라. 개입하지 말아라 라고 하는 거죠.
Yes, indeed they have. That's been the statement coming from both sides for the last few days as well, and certainly with the buildup of troops said to be taking place very near to the border to Hong Kong, we'll indeed have to wait to see exactly what will happen eventually.
Okay, let's move on to headline number 2.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Thursday sent a ritual offering to Tokyo's Yasukuni Shrine, a symbol of the country's imperialistic past.
아베 신조 일본 총리가 종전일인 어제 야스쿠니 신사에 또다시 공물을 보냈습니다.
And as you can imagine, the response to this from many places around the world, but in particular South Korea, the officials here expressed what many outlets are calling deep concern over this ritual offering to the war shrine, which is seen as a symbol of Japan's imperialistic past. It's worth noting, perhaps, that Abe sent the offering to the shrine via an aide, and that has been the case for several years now, since as far back as 2012, when Abe first took office.
Right. I think that was the one and only time that he went there himself.
Initially, yes.
And then since then, he's been sending his aides and other people. But nonetheless, he is still honoring those war victims. That is the problem that we're looking at here. Whether he went himself or not, he is still sending those offerings. And there are 14 Japanese wartime leaders at the Yasukuni Shrine, the war dead we're talking about here. These are war criminals, seen from all across the world, but Japan does honor them.
Yes, indeed. That really is, again, the crux of the issue here. It's not so much the shrine itself, but rather what or particularly who it represents. And as you did mention it, 14 convicted Class A war criminals are enshrined there. And of course, that becomes the issue. Then offering any kind of symbolic gesture towards that shrine can obviously be seen as supporting those war criminals.
네, 아베 총리가 이번에도 직접 가지는 않았지만 그래도 여전히 공물을 보냈다는 그 자체가 이제 문제로 볼 수 있을 것 같고요. 우리나라뿐만 아니라 중국에서도 이에 대한 반응이 나올 것으로 예상이 됩니다. This is expected to pretty much upset not just South Korea, but the region, China as well. So we'll have to see what China says about that.
Yes, indeed.
Let's move on to headline number 3.
An Italian court has ruled that a ship carrying rescued migrants should be allowed to dock in Italy in defiance of a government ban.
이탈리아 사법부가 정부의 비정부 난민 구조선의 영해 진입 금지령을 뒤집고요. 입항을 허용했습니다.
Well, this is certainly an ongoing story. We've touched upon it a few times in recent months, both in the headlines and in our news focus. If any of our listeners will recall there, the sort of person at the heart of this matter here is the Interior Minister, who's also the Deputy Prime Minister there in Italy, Mr. Matteo Salvini. He's been very much against these migrants coming into Italy and has tried his best to keep them out. But recently, however, the courts have ruled that they indeed should be allowed to dock. Specifically, in this example, there are 2 ships that are being looked at. One of them is a Spanish humanitarian ship known as the Open Arms. And there's also another ship nearby, the Ocean Viking, which is also looking to dock after being at sea for several days in very choppy waters.
And Mr. Salvini just mentioned there, he's the one behind a recent bill that was proposed and passed, I do believe, in Italy that calls for a fine of €1 million if one of these ships are docked around Italy. And that in Korean money would be about 13억 원. 그러니까 최근에 이탈리아에서는요, 난민구조선이 이탈리아 영해에 들어올 경우에는 최대 100만 유로, 우리 돈으로 13억 원의 벌금을 부과하는 내용의 그 난민법을 최근에 의회에서 통과시켰습니다. 그런 식으로 이제 이탈리아에서는 난민들이 이탈리아 들어오는 것에 대해서 굉장히 반대하는 입장입니다. 이제 정부의 입장이죠. 그렇지만 스페인이 이제 좀 돕겠다 이런 입장인 것 같습니다. Spain has said it will take some of these migrants, right?
Well, that is sort of one of the main issues here is that Mr. Salvini and the people who support him are wanting the migrants to have places to go other than Italy when they are docked. So indeed, they are looking for other countries to take them. Spain is one of those countries that has stepped up. In total, between those 2 ships, the Open Arms and the Ocean Viking, there are said to be some 500 migrants waiting to disembark. And the United Nations has also got involved. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees issued a statement calling on all European governments to allow the immediate disembarkation of the more than 500 people on those 2 ships.
네, 그래서 스페인의 구호단체인 Open Arms와 함께 난민 구조에 나선다는 내용입니다. Let's go on to our next headline.
Rebels in Syria have shot down a government warplane in the opposition stronghold of Idlib province in northern Syria.
시리아 북부 이들립주 일대에서 반군이 정부군 전투기 한 대를 격추했습니다.
So, according to reports there from the state news agency Sana, the plane had been hit by an anti-aircraft missile that was fired by militants. The plane was said to be on a mission to destroy the headquarters of a particular Nusra front, and this is also involved with a jihadist group there known by the initials HTS.
네, 그렇습니다. HTS가 지금 말씀해 주신 대로 하얏 타히라 알-샴의 약자인데요. 옛 알카이다 시리아 지부를 계승한 그런 그룹으로 볼 수 있겠습니다. 이제 HTS는 자신들이 이번에 정부군 전투기를 격추했다고 이렇게 밝혔습니다. What more do we know?
Well, we do know that in addition to the claims of downing that vehicle, we've also had video produced, released showing that as well. So the jihadists from the HTS group, which is said to be one of the most powerful insurgent groups in that area, did release a video of what it claims was the downed vessel. They also released a video of the captured pilot of that vessel, as well as he was said to have ejected from the plane before it itself had crashed.
Back in April, another plane was downed, but that time around it was the opposite way. It was, I believe it was the government that had shot one of the rebel.
Sure, we had even touched upon that ourselves at the time.
네, 그렇습니다. 지난 4월에는 이제 정부군이 반군 지역에 공격을 재개했었죠. 그리고 전투기가 격추가 됐었는데 그 이후 처음으로 전투기가 격추됐다는 소식입니다. 이번에는 이제 정부군의 전투기가 격추됐다는 소식입니다. Let's go on to our next headline.
Headline number 5. A Russian passenger plane on Thursday performed an emergency landing shortly after takeoff after suffering a bird strike on its engines.
러시아 모스크바 인근에서 국내선 여객기가 이륙 직후 버드 스트라이크로 인해 비상 착륙했습니다.
So according to reports, there were no fatalities in this incident. Nobody was killed, but there have been some reports of injuries.
지금 보이는 라디오로 영상을 보여드리고 있습니다.
And the reports of injuries have been somewhat conflicting, but I think the highest number that I've seen was around 74 injuries there. Nevertheless, we do know with certainty that there were some 234 people on board.
네, 지금 이 영상은요, 버드 스트라이크가 일어날 당시의 모습이에요. And for those of our listeners who are not familiar with the term bird strike, we're talking about birds sucked to the engine of the plane, right?
Specifically in this case, yes. In general, a bird strike can be any incident where a bird and a plane collide in the air.
Okay.
So sometimes it would be a collision with the engines, as it is in this case. It can also be a collision with the wing or any part of the vehicle. But of course, when it's the engines, that's one of the most dangerous situations.
네, 그렇습니다. 그러니까 조류로 인해서 이제 항공기가 운항을 하기 어려워지는 지금 이 경우에는 이제 엔진 안에 빨려 들어갔다 이런 내용을 볼 수 있는데요. 이런 걸 bird strike라고 합니다. 그래서 러시아에서는 이제 비상 착륙을 항공기가 했어요. 근데 이 과정에서 수십 명이 부상을 해서 말씀해 주신 대로 BBC 통신에 의하면은 74명이 부상을 당했다. 사망자는 없는 것으로 그렇게 집계가 됐습니다.
And after the bird strike, after the birds were sucked into the engines, the crew there did actually have to then turn off the engines before landing, and they did land about a kilometer away from the airport, but specifically not at the airport. So they did land actually in, I think, what was reported to be a cornfield.
Right. And the state media that in Russia has called it a miracle that no one died from this accident because the engine was off.
Right.
The gears were retracted. It was a very dangerous landing.
And also, because this was immediately after takeoff, the plane was full of fuel. And I do believe, according to reports, the pilot did not have time to jettison the fuel, which is often done when a crash landing needs to take place. So it is said that there were some 16 tons of fuel on board that vehicle when it crashed in the cornfield.
He's been dubbed as a hero now. 네, 그렇습니다. 굉장히 위험한 비상 착륙이었기 때문에 엔진을 전부 다 끈 상태에서 사실상 그냥 바로 내려오는 그런 모습이었는데 다행히 사망자가 발생하지 않았다고 합니다. 마지막 헤드라인 볼게요.
Headline number 6. The government has started reviewing measures to levy a tax on YouTube.
정부가 이른바 유튜브세 논의에 본격적으로 착수했습니다.
Although the headline does mention YouTube in particular, actually the tax itself would be a tax on so-called OTT or over-the-top services, of which YouTube is one and there are several others. Although there may be some fine distinctions, we can basically think of these OTT services as streaming services. Currently, terrestrial broadcasters and cable channels are required to pay approximately between 2 and 4% of their advertisement sales every year for the purpose of promoting the development of Korea's broadcasting and communications industry. That's a current levy on terrestrial broadcasters and cable channels. So the government is simply looking at extending this to the so-called OTT services, and there is precedent for this. France has been doing this since as far back as 2017.
아, 그렇군요. 일단은 이제 몇 가지 용어가 나와서 설명을 드리자면 OTT, 우리말로는 온라인 동영상 서비스, 이걸 이제 OTT라고 설명을 해주신 거고요. OTT를 대상으로 이렇게 유튜브세라고 불렀지만 사실은 유튜브뿐만 아니라 여러 매체에게 조세, 그 다음에 기금을 부과하는 내용입니다. 특히 방송통신발전기금, 법정 분담금을 어떻게 부과하느냐 이 문제를 가지고 그동안에도 많은 논란이 있었는데요. 이 논의가 본격적으로 착수됐다는 내용입니다. So are we going to see more companies paying?
Well, eventually, if the tax or if the levy is introduced as law, then yes, indeed, we would see that. One of the things that many people are pointing to as, and I think perhaps what you're alluding to, is how much further would this go? So if they're singling out the so-called OTT services, would they eventually get up to the parent company of those services? If we look at the YouTube example, of course, its parent company is Google, aka Alphabet these days, technically.
Right.
And many people are questioning that indeed, would there be a so-called Google tax eventually?
그렇죠. 그러니까 지금까지는 지상파라든지 종합편성 채널이 이 분담금을 냈었는데요. 앞으로는 유튜브 같은 뭐 넷플릭스도 포함되고요. 이런 OTT도 부과할 수 있을 것 같습니다. Let's wrap up the headlines there with the quiz.
Well, our quiz today is extremely short and sweet, so listen carefully, everybody. Another word for relations is blank. Is that number 1, ties, or number 2, bows?
Ties
Thanks
and
for the
bows.
hint. How do we know that's not bows?
짧은 문자 50원, 긴 문자 100원에 샵 1045로 보내주시고요. 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스 이용도 가능합니다. 노래 듣고 와서 다음 뉴스 포커스 볼게요. This is Linda Ronstadt and James Ingram with Somewhere Out There.